Hello there, dear loving souls. Welcome back to this channel and to the video series today on coming out of a spiritual closet. Thank you for joining me today to discuss this topic in this office. Now please feel free to grab a glass of water or a cup of tea or coffee or whatever your beverage is, and strap yourself in for the three parts. As always, part one is facts and universal law. Part 2 will be all about the application of the universal laws and some practical tips. And part 3 will be all about getting some messages from the spirit world, our angels, archangels, and the beautiful, beautiful guardian Asna and the ancestors and everybody else in the spirit world that decided to come in today for the purposes of this topic. Now, part 1, right, so the facts. It's actually very interesting. So I am observing something that's quite important to me and to my heart, and it's people's spirituality. Now, I'm a big believer that there is a couple of elements that make us, and that's your physical body, this beautiful technology that we are roaming through and using to experience the world and planet Earth. Mental state, your mind, your brain, your thoughts, intelligence, etc. Emotional state, which can feel kind of in a variety of bits and variety of parts of our body, but it's emotional, your feelings. And then there's the spiritual bit, which I think is actually what makes us unique, because we are a spiritual being having a human experience within the physical body that we find ourselves in. So another way of thinking about it is kind of like the hardware and the software. We've not got the hardware, but the software is our spirit. That's what makes us run, and that's what be whoever we are. And something I've observed is I think we're being awakened as to our spirituality, and to really kind of question ourselves who we are truly. Answers to the questions of who am I, as an example. Some people know that straight away, I'm a spirit having a human experience. Some others might not believe that. That's not part of their belief system, which is totally fine as well. And spirituality, I think, is extremely important. That aspect, or that fourth element that I discussed, is just as important as the other three: physical, mental, and emotional. And it's very key, I think, to having a fulfilling life, to try and thrive for balance amongst those four: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And there is this thing, that's been happening in the society, which is kind of commingling spirituality with religion. I don't believe those are one and the same. I think, religion is sort of a societal construct. It has stemmed from, years and years of human values and principles written into texts or books or whatnot, but ultimately it is like a organized set of rules as to how one should live, as well as setting out their principles and values. And religion, that in my world, no matter what kind of religion we're speaking of, where spirituality for me is going back to that whole root of the word, which is spirit, the fact that each one of us has a spirit. And in my world, every spirit is actually a loving one, hence the loving soul, right? I'm a true believer that we're all, human beings in particular, are loving souls, and I believe there is actually consciousness that presides over everything, including inanimate objects, i.e. not even living things. So there are probably most likely elements of the soul or the spirit in non-animate objects as well, because of the consciousness that presides and weaves itself through everything, through the whole universe. And so the whole topic is about coming out of a spiritual closet, right? And I think it's vital, because if you're not comfortable discussing your spirituality with other people, then it is very likely that our element of you, about you, that makes you, isn't actually thriving towards a balanced position, right? So between physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, if it's one of those things that you keep only to yourself, you keep hiding, you're not comfortable discussing it with anybody, and you're not addressing it, or you might not be even thinking about it, you might not have as much of a balanced life. And you, as a result of that, there may be certain issues or challenges that are presented in order to kind of help you address that part of you, the spirit part of you. And the universal law, I usually talk about 3, but there's only 2 that come to mind for today's session, and that's the first thing, which I am a big believer in. We're all spirits having a human experience, and in my world, that's a universal law. In its foundation, we're spiritual beings. We're made up of light and love. Those are sort of synonymous in my world. And why in this channel I enjoy and talking about universal laws and in particular practicing love, because we jump onto it's the second universal law that I wanted to talk about. That's the power of love. And the power of love is this enormous force that allows us to think love, speak love, do love. The more we practice love, the more we get it back. And I think that's true, because if we are ourselves, our spirit is inherently light and love, and we do more of ourselves, we practice more love, i.e. we are more acting within our inner core, and in terms of from who we are, what we are, we actually inherently do that on a daily basis in this human experience on planet Earth, then the more fulfilling your life will actually be, because it's as if you are acting from your original source, from who you truly are, from within you. Excuse me, I'm still under the weather, so please excuse me if my voice sounds a bit odd. And so our heart is a very important part of our design on this physical body. I truly believe the heart is the bridge between the physical body and the spiritual body. So if you're ever in doubt and you're not sure as to the truth of something, including this video series or this channel, if there's anything that you're just not sure about, put your hand to your heart, ask the question, are those words truthful, are those concepts truthful? And you'll get the answer that is perfect for you, that is custom made for you. Trust in your heart, because that means you're getting the custom wisdom from your own spirit, from your own soul and your higher self, as well as the wider spirit world that we by design in this human bodies can't visually see, might not consciously be aware of unless you embed it into your belief system, or we can't consciously, I guess, hear it with our ears, and the audible settings are not quite there. So, and that's all by design. It's done on purpose, our human body, to actually put these restrictions and limitations on us. That's done by design. So going back to the concept of spiritual closet and coming out of spiritual closet, truly hope this video series encourages you to consider whether you are in a spiritual closet. Perhaps your friends or your family members might find themselves in that position. To what extent are you comfortable talking about your spirituality? What are your beliefs? Could you write them down or not, for yourself? And so it's a very important and sensitive subject, and I truly encourage everybody to be honest and open and transparent about their spirituality, and on the receiving end to be open and transparent to other people's beliefs. Faith is extremely important. It kind of shapes how we go about doing what we do, how we go about thinking and speaking and behaving. And so I am a big believer that no one should really be imposing their beliefs on others. What you believe in terms of your spirituality is up to you, and you also have the right to express yourself, to speak about it, but be also respectful as to other people's beliefs and their spirituality, in their journey, and their faith. No one is right or wrong. There's no good or bad. It's just is the way it is, and it's okay to express ourselves about beliefs in the most respectful manner. On that note, let's jump into part 2 and talk about some practical tips as to how we can come out of a spiritual closet or take some steps to help us through that phase in our life. Click on part 2 in the description box and I will see you shortly.